The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Happy Halloween tomorrow or today or yesterday or whatever it is you decided to listen to this episode. This is the Brandon Peters Show, where we're going to talk about some of the most Halloween-centric movies around, the Night of the Demons series. And here with me again from here and the Bob and Tom Show, it's Let's Scare Jessica Alsman to Death.
Hi. I got nothing but that.
Okay.
I couldn't think of anything clever.
All right. And noted
Scare me to
author.
death.
Well, it said Let's Scare Jessica to Death. I just added your name. It's a movie. I mean, that was talked about on this show. If you could look in the catalog of the Brandon Peters Show, Jamie Alvey and Brandon Peters talked about Let's Scare Jessica to Death. All right. And one of our favorite authors on the globe and all around as well, man. The picture of Dorian Gregg, McGoon.
Hello.
Oliver just looked right at me.
I know Oliver's like, what was that?
He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, no more of that tonight. Last week we had one for Greg. This week, or we have one or more like four for Jessica. But first, quick trip to 4K Blues Day. And remember, we talked about the Best Buy and stuff. Right after we recorded, we had an explosion of announcements, and I'm just going to go over what they were, not in huge details, but Haunting in Venice is coming out on standard Blu-ray on the 28th of November, which the first two were on 4K, and then this one's standard, and this is the best one of the three. Okay. Point Break is coming to 4K. Keanu and Patrick. That's coming soon from Shout Factory. The Color Purple is debuting on 4K in December. Steven Spielberg's. That was his first I make serious Oscar pictures run one, I believe. Expendables is coming to 4K next month. Titanic is coming to 4K in December, which should be the first of many James Cameron titles coming to finish out his catalog. Oppenheimer's coming to 4K in November on the same day as Saw X on 4K in November. So any of those ring a bell? Jessica, you saw Titanic. I know you saw Titanic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Even in the theater.
All right. Did you see the Oppenheimer?
I haven't. We held out for those fancy IMAX tickets, and then they were always sold out, and then they stopped showing it. So
yeah, that was hard to
we
get
missed
tickets
out.
to. Hard to get tickets.
I've actually seen everyone you listed.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You saw Expendables?
Yeah, I did. It was
wow.
on streaming or something, or I don't know. I don't remember why I saw it, but I saw that one. So yeah, I saw every one of those movies you listed. And Haunting in Venice was great.
Oh,
too.
it's so good. It's so good. It's just beautiful to look at too. That's that's a good one that kicked off the 2023 spooky season in the theaters. Because I would count that as horror movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I counted it.
It's the one that it was kind of where was this the first two movies, man? Not that I didn't like the first. I enjoy them, but none of them really knocked my socks off. I wouldn't say Haunting in Venice knocked my socks off, but I was just like, this is impressive. I like this. But yeah, and Saw X, I was a big fan of Saw X.
Yep.
But no, I hadn't seen Expendables, so I'll be looking forward to checking. How good was that one, Greg?
It's fun. It has its moments.
Okay, is it better than 3? The one where they're with Kellen Lutz.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's different-ish. It has some strong points, some not as strong points. Just does 3 have strong points? I mean, 3 has some fun moments too.
It's got Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, 3's fun. I mean, they have their fun within reason. So yeah, it's good.
Okay.
It's not that memorable. 4 is not that memorable.
Gotcha.
Megan Fox is in that, right?
Yes.
See, I love her. Well,
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
her.
Megan Fox. I do. I think she's fun.
She had that Netflix movie last year that was really good. that I
Till
liked.
Death.
Mm.
Wasn't it
Yeah.
that? I liked it.
I did too.
I was like, that's
Yeah.
a lot of work on her own, and she's like crawling around in either snow or fake snow, whatever. I was like, good for you,
Yeah.
Megan. And her
Right, I
makeup
liked
looked
it.
flawless the entire time, and I'm like, how can I not get my makeup to look good if I try for 3 hours?
And this is a good time of year to watch Jennifer's Body,
Mm-hmm.
which is
True.
it's a very
Classic.
good movie. Yeah, it is a legit classic now. It's been out for a long time. It had to go through its wave of like, whoop, to it's actually good now to now it's just give or take.
Yeah.
It's just it's there.
The head of its time.
Very much so. Very much so. I remember being like just kind of medium on it when it came out, and then I like many years went by and people were saying it's so good and people were wrong about it. And I watched it, I was like, yeah, I don't think I was ready for this back then.
Yeah.
I think that was more of my deal with it, was I was not ready for that. And I think poor Diablo Cody got like a huge bad rap for some reason after jumping onto the scene with so much praise, and then like backlash probably because she's a woman doing cool things.
I just thought the verbiage was so funny. Like all the where's it at, monostat? I'm like, that's hilarious if you're a woman and you're the only one using monostat. Otherwise, guys are like, what the hell's monostat? It's for yeast infections. You're welcome. Or maybe guys do use it. I actually don't know. So
7.
But when I watched it, I was like, awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. But yeah, I never watched United States of Terror, but I like pretty much anything Diablo Cody's put out. Like I loved Young Adult. That was one of my favorite movies that year. So there we go. But anyway, we will move on to 1988 and the movie Night of the Demons.
This place was once a funeral parlor, wasn't it? What was that?
Run, Judy, run! We're gonna get out of here. Get up, Judy! I can't! Yes, you can! Night of the Demons. Where you going? The party's just begun. Rated R.
Directed by Kevin Tenney, written by Joe Augustine, starring Amelia Kincaid and Linnea Quigley, Kathy Padwell, Alvin Alexi, Hal Havens, Billy Gallo, Donnie Jeffcoat, Jill Tereshita, and Allison Barron. 10 teenagers party at an abandoned funeral parlor on Halloween night when an evil force awakens. Demonic spirits keep them from leaving and turn their gathering into a living hell. This film was originally called Halloween Party. They changed it so it wouldn't get mixed up with Halloween. There are actually versions of the credits you can watch that call it Halloween Party from test screenings and early work print cuts. Fun note before going into this. So in real life, the girl, Amelia Kincaid, who plays Angela, her aunt is Rue McClanahan from Golden Girls, who was on the set of this movie here and there. So
hilarious.
It was blessed by a Golden Girl.
They didn't sneak her in the background ever?
No.
I wish.
No. So I have my thoughts in this movie. I'm sure Greg does, but we're going to start again with Jessica because this is... You mentioned last year something about loving Night of the Demons being one of your favorites to put up, and I perked because same girl. Same.
Like no one talks about this movie around Halloween, and you kind of forget it's a damn Halloween party, and every year is when Angela comes back on Halloween. And after the first one, of course. But Night of the Demons held a special place in my heart because as a young child, probably, I'm trying to think, maybe 93, because we watched it before the second one ever came out, like maybe 6 or 7. I'm watching this with my mom, and a lot of questions because, even as a young girl, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of boobs. Great. But then, of course, the biggest scene, I think that's the scene stealer in the movie, is Miss Suzanne, Princess Ballerina, when she's doing the fancy stuff with her lipstick and doing her makeup, and then she literally inserts it into her nipple, and I'm like, what is going on? But I didn't even question it. I was just like, okay, this is happening. This is great. But then not only did I get to watch Night of the Demons as a kid, my mom would then rent it for me when I had a slumber party. So I was that house where all the girls would come over and get to watch their R-rated movies, and not just R-rated, your B horror films that are just so grotesque. And then some of them would have like nightmares, and their mom would get upset that we watched it, but they knew what they were getting into. And I just, and it all started with Night of the Demons. But I love it just because that sentimental part of it. And then, of course, rewatching it again, I was like, man, I hate the final girl. I hate Judy. She's so whiny. I got to the point where I'm like, can she shut up? No one wants to help you. And she's just like, well, I can't. It's like, ugh, whatever. So that just drove me crazy. I'm like, Raj, you need to leave her. But no, he's the son of a preacher. He's a good boy, good soul. He ain't gonna leave her behind. But not only the special effects and whatnot, as a kid, the one thing that always scared me, and it still scared me as an adult, I prepped my boyfriend. I'm like, there's this part that I will flinch, but I'm gonna watch it. I can do this. He's like, okay. And it's where they go to the basement and all of that the cremation door opens up and you see the crazy skull dinosaur looking the demon. And every time as a kid, I would just freak out. So I just closed my eyes until I could hear it happening. And then when they show it, I'm like, okay, here we go. So that always freaked me out. Also, I was really confused as a kid watching the part with the old man and the apples and the razor blades. I didn't get that. And even at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, his wife didn't know those apples had blades in them, apparently.
Did she?
As I got older, I was like, yeah, bitch. Rightfully so. So yeah, I mean, just a bunch of random horny teenagers, right? That's what the description is. It's what it is. Let us.
This is a horny series of 80s horror supernatural flicks with a slasher element to them. But yeah,
what started that? Like, because even when I'm watching this, I kind of got the vibe of Scream again, because here they are, a bunch of like high schoolers that go to this big house just to party, and then a lot of them get killed. And not that it's about Scream, but that's just now what I'm connecting it with.
The idea is they wanted to make a Friday the 13th kind of movie, but didn't want to do your typical guy walks around stabbing people. And there are also, there's a parent, so it's a marriage of the idea of Friday the 13th and another movie that I'm not remembering what they said on an interview that I watched, because these recently came out on well, they've been out before, but the first one debuted on 4K, the second one got a better version on Blu-ray, and the third one got its first Blu-ray this month, 2023 October, as we are talking, and I can't remember, but they said the idea was a Friday the 13th thing, but they couldn't just do Friday the 13th. And we're across the Freddy area here, because in the early 80s, the slasher movie comes out and they're all person may have a mask, may not have a mask, stabbing people. And then it's about to die in about 84. And then Freddy comes out, rejuvenates this thing. So if you notice in the latter half of the 80s, they're all a bit more supernatural. Jason becomes like a zombie. You get Chucky in there. Pinhead's not a slasher, but he gets popular. I mean, in the 90s, you have Candyman, Leprechaun. So they now have a supernatural element to them with the stalk and slash. It's not just quiet person in a mask stabs.
Was it like Exorcist plus?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, there's a little bit.
She's like the demon possessed. But even when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, they really do cover a lot of the ghost hunting and demonic possession type stuff. Like, there's 3 knocks, the mocking of the Trinity, right. All that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's unique. While they were trying to crib from other things, they really made a unique movie to themselves. Like there's a not much like Night of the Demons. I mean, you can think of horror makeup gore shows from the 80s that you could toss this in with, but in terms of story elements and all together, it really feels its own.
I mean, it had a Tales of the Crypt vibe to it. Like, yeah, like I could see that kind of, because it was campy. It's campy, it's fun. Like I mean, to me, it's a horror comedy. Like watching it again.
Oh, it
like,
is 100%. I don't remember
this that much. I mean, it's a horror comedy, so that's more in that realm of I mean, the first one does it really well, and then other ones happen afterwards.
Oh no.
Um,
Oh, no.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I only really have things to say about the remake that I am questioning on. The other ones were movies as well that have their fun moments, but this first one really looks like everybody cared about it. Like, they looked like they had fun. They were passionate. It didn't look low budget either, considering it was a low budget movie. It really looked thoughtfully put together. Like, they did some cool stuff. The effects, the practical effects were great. It didn't even look that dated in some places. So I was impressed by rewatching it. It didn't feel as old as I thought it would.
Well, the funny thing is, the house is almost as they found it. Like, they did minimal set design to this place.
Wow.
Like, a lot of the furniture is the furniture that was in there when they were going into this place to do it.
Then respect to that cast, because that's nasty. Like,
oh no, apparently they were afraid of things in the house. They all shared what room together, changed together, did everything together in a room in the house between takes and stuff they weren't on, because they were afraid to be alone around in the house.
Good call.
well, just safety too, because if it's like a real house that they're not styling, then those are really loose wood beams, and there are really loose nails, and there may be like mold or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they expected to a certain degree, but I've been in enough abandoned houses in my lifetime, and let me tell you, it is risky. Just not if you don't believe in ghosts or anything like that, it's just a safety hazard from the mold, toxins, animal shit, whatever might
rusty
be in
nails sitting around.
nails. I've been in an abandoned house before that had dead crows in it, and you don't know what they're like. You don't know what's like the leaves spreading. You could touch a doorknob where a dead crow would hit the doorknob and then get dead crow on your hand. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, I will say, so I love this movie to death. Like, I think it's one of my favorite scary movies of all time. It's just it excels in so many different areas and is blending them perfectly. Like, it's scary, gory, humorous, campy, practical effect masterpiece. And it's the ultimate haunted house monster show too. Like, this movie can make you jump, it can make you suspense. You can be in suspense, you can be frightened, but you can also laugh your ass off. You can also just appreciate gore, and it's goofy. It's got a style to it. And here's the thing, what I think attracted me to it when I was a kid and stuff, and I've always appreciated back then, this feels like a real group of kids hanging out. Like,
it does.
Nobody's like, I mean, some are shitty to each other, but it's like a legitimate shitty to each other, and it looks like a party, even though it looks like a party I'd want to go to, you know? Yeah. Like, ooh, they're gonna do a seance and shit, and I'm gonna in a haunted house. Like, if I was that age, I'd have been, fuck yeah, we're going to Angela's party. Hell yes, I'm going to this thing.
Angela always had the best snacks, apparently. She really made it a point to have like all kinds of chips.
Right.
And I appreciate
there's like
that.
a good food table. Like, it was like legit set. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that she robbed the liquor store for.
Oh, that's right.
Such a funny
I mean,
scene,
how
too.
do you think she got those?
That's true. That's true.
She robbed the liquor store. No wonder she had the best chips. Because
she could have shipped 2 bags, but she went out of her way to get a variety for folks.
And I'll
Very thoughtful.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna cut to this. Linnea Quigley here.
Yeah.
So I will also say, the guy with the glasses chewing the gum, watching her. What a memorable guy for not much of a part in the movie, right? Like, you're like, he looks like somebody or something. You think he's worked, but he's not a like somebody, but he looks like he could be. I don't remember the other guy too much, but so Linnea Quigley, this movie, I immediately had a crush from that moment there. Like, I was like, who is this blonde girl? I didn't realize she was the same girl from Return of the Living Dead, which I had seen when she played Trash. I mean, this is not when we just IMDb things. This was renting VHSs, and she looks way different in that movie than she does here. I was like, who is this woman? And I was just like, and I'll tell you what, nothing freaked me out more than her transformation into that when she's having sex with that guy. And I'm just like, I was haunted. I was like, oh my God, that really pretty woman turned into the ugliest damn thing I ever saw in my life. And it was just so weird with that, like, her performance is just bizarre and weird. And she was like a lot older than everyone in this movie. Like they really wanted her for it. And she's like, why do they want me to in this movie with all these teens? And I'm aged out, but she did it. And I'd say one of the craziest things in the world is that putting the lipstick into her nipple and it disappearing. And that's Steve Johnson, who I would think is a reason why, I'll go ahead and say it, the first two films are the best of the two, in my opinion, that we're going to watch. And there's a consistency because he's doing the effects. But the boob one, it looks real. Like 4K quality restoration, it still looks legit. And they try to do this shit again in the remake, and it looks fake as hell. And that effect, which informs the rest of the series for some reason, that's what they take from it. Like, let's do the lipstick or the boob. And so she pops it in there, and she had to go in and like get fitted for that with Steve Johnson. Like, she'd been nude in movies before. It wasn't a big thing. Like, she was in Silent Night, Deadly Night topless. She of course Return of the Living Dead topless. But she meets Steve Johnson, and they got married off of this.
Aww.
They didn't last, but they got married. Steve Johnson, who I swear Robert Downey Jr.'s performance as Tony Stark is slightly based off of. If you've ever seen an interview with the guy and what he looks like, you'd be like, I think there's a little Tony Stark there. But yeah. So this movie, like the lighting in these rooms, the way they do the mist or the fog is unique, kind of feels unique to this movie. It's not overdone. It hits the lighting right. There's a not hit you over the head gothic tone to some of this stuff. I learned the term blowjob from this movie when I was a kid. Never heard it before till that gas station scene. So I was like, what the hell does that mean? Blowjob. Yeah. And I wrote this review when I first reviewed this movie back long ago. And then I wrote stuff about Linnea Quigley, my thoughts of like how beautifully, like I was like, oh, just stressed by everything. And she commented on Twitter on my review. It was like, hey, it's okay. It'll be fine. Or something, like she said something where I'm like, oh, she read what I wrote.
Aww.
So later on, years later, I reviewed her for a podcast, and it's one of my best interviews I've ever done. So, and she's a sweet lady. For a while we kept contact texting, and she would like text on the every holiday, be like, tell your family, Brandon, I said Merry Christmas or whatever, celebrating, like, so I love it. Real awesome. And she has the great line of "Run, Judy, run. See, Judy, run." I love that line. But she's an element that the other movies don't have.
Yep.
Because this one has Angela, and she's like, yes, she is number one, but she also has Suzanne, which is an awesome demon. And then there's what's the pig guy's name? Stooge. You've got, I don't think, while the other ones will have some cool ideas and stuff with people, they never have the supporting demons as effective as this one does. That's mine. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But
I always hated the scene in the bedroom when the brother's like watching his sister get dressed, though. I will say that.
That's what I was about to bring up. I was like, this is the weirdest script that I've ever seen. But first of all, the nudity in this first one was the most organic of all the nudity in all of them. And we'll get to that when we talk about the other ones.
Ooh, I don't bend that way.
But when she gets into her room and she's on the phone and she's talking on the phone and she's changing her outfit or whatever, can someone explain to me why she takes off her underwear to put on her skirt? Like, she takes off her underwear and then takes off her skirt and then puts on like her costume or something and then doesn't put on underwear again. And I'm like, what? Like, the camera angle and the shot was really cool with the way they filmed it, and like there's her bare ass and everything, but I'm like, why'd she need to take off her underwear? And then it got weirder when the brother jumps out of the closet and then says
Right?
bodacious boobies, sis.
Yeah, he said
Oh.
bodacious
Boobies. And I'm just sitting there going, first of all, she took off her underwear in front of her brother for no reason, even though she didn't know he was in there.
Right.
And then he comments on her bodacious boobs. And at this point, I'm like, I'm in. I'm 100% on this movie. Whoever wrote this, you're good. So, but I will. that is the biggest mystery of this movie, is why she took off her underwear, then her skirt, and then put on her clothes, but no other underwear.
I always wondered if that little, whatever, like the hoop skirt or the fluffy skirt, maybe it had a built-in panty liner,
a girdle
Oh,
thing.
maybe.
Yeah.
like
Her
kind of
Alice
like
costume.
yeah.
something. Otherwise,
Maybe.
yeah, that didn't make any sense. It would just be sexy.
And
Give
And
it
I
a
wrote
brother.
and I wrote down, I don't know who said it, but it was, I guess, before she did her underwear taking off, but she says, I don't need you, I don't need your help, you damn little whore. And I'm like,
Oh.
who's talking to who? Who says that line? Yeah, I don't need your help, you damn little whore. That was like at the beginning of the movie. And I'm like, this movie is just going for it.
Oh yeah, it's not afraid to talk shit, and especially Stooge, he says some rude shit to people as well.
He calls everyone bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shut up,
I
bitch.
know. And the smoking with the little brother, and then the other guy, the when they're on the patio or whatever, and the guy like walks away and he whispers fag. That was funny to me with the little brother. The little brother was like, had a lot of lines, and I'm like, this is a lot for a kid to be involved in.
Yeah, he was supposed to
It was
be
interesting.
well, he was supposed to make it over to the house, but like they changed the script because of the low budget nature, and paying for a minor to be out of hours and stuff like that was going to take it into the budget more than they wanted.
Yeah, but I liked him. I liked that little kid. He was ridiculous, and I don't know what was wrong with him, but he was very much in everybody's business, and like inappropriate business in a very odd sort of way. And then even the mom I liked, and her like shit candy, like her like what is happening? Like they set the tone and the style of this movie, where I'm like, it almost had like a John Waters feel to it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Before it gets into a horror movie, it kind of feels like like a John Waters.
Well, with the old man and everything. Yeah. No, it's super goofy. That helps set up and allow the rest of the horror movie to which is allowed to goof off a lot too. So it's like not like it's out of place, because we've seen how this world behaves before.
Yep. And this is the only one of all of them that really does that. Which I appreciated, that it really created the world, it set a tone, it created a style, and it stuck with it, and it was consistent, and you got a good feel of all the characters kind of right away.
Well, I think there's like I when I was comparing this one to I'm like, with the second one, I'm like, what's the difference? Like, one of the differences I noticed is the first one's like got a bit more of a cartoonishness to it that's lacking from many of the others. Like that it's a tone itself that is hard to do correctly, like this movie does, which this movie incidentally might have done that. But Kevin Tenney, I've seen his other stuff. He's pretty, I mean, he did the Witchboard movies, if you've ever seen those. So that's kind of why he doesn't do the second one, is because he's doing Witchboard 2. And they were shooting them at the same time. But yeah, that's why one thing I spotted, I was like, yeah, it's kind of a cartoon feel to it, this one, but
and everything felt very intentional in this movie in a good way. Like it felt intentional in a good way. It had a good pace to it. There was a good evolution of the transformation of demons. It wasn't instantaneous like the remake, which we'll get to why, but like it like this one took its time. It let things kind of evolve. It allowed for the weirdness to kind of like set in, where it also, which I appreciated, that like the characters in this one, when weird shit started to happen, they weren't automatically like, oh, like there was a little bit of like, not skepticism, but there was a little bit of just like not this instantaneous like freak out, like, oh, we're in a haunted house.
Yeah,
it felt more like it doesn't seem like they were in a movie. Like sometimes, like I said in last week's when we were talking about it, where like I hate when movies they like show up to places and then they already act like they're scared before anything happens, and you're like, you don't know you're in a movie, like you don't know what's gonna happen to you. And in this movie, they were at a party, and then when weird stuff was happening, they weren't just immediately like demons. It took time for everything to kind of like sink in, and even then they just were like, what is really happening here? And they tried a little bit of logic to some of it in its own way, which I appreciated in like the campy, like cartoony nature of it. And then it just gets out of hand, and like because they're also horny and these demons like transfer their demonness through like horniness, it also like worked as well. So they were really thinking of it as like, oh, they're demons, it's just an analogy for horny teens, and their like hormones turn them into demons. Like really, this is just a anti-sex ad of the it is like, don't fuck or else you're turned into a demon. I mean,
especially in a coffin.
Yeah. Which like I'm pretty bold, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna overshare here, but I mean, even I have my limits, and I don't know, I like to be adventurous, I'll leave it at that. But like I don't like dirt when it comes to activities of that nature. So I don't get why you would go to a haunted house and your first impulse is be like, let's fuck. Like I don't like maybe a little bit of like over the clothes stuff, maybe a little mouth stuff, but like I don't get this like, let's hop in a casket and fuck. Like that's not comfortable. Right. And it's just, you don't know what's been in that casket. It's probably not sterile.
Well, they do mention that it was probably more comfortable in their car when they're doing it. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, bad idea.
And even, cars aren't even that comfortable. Let's be real. I mean, I'd probably choose a casket over a car, but
right. And I'll tell you, surprisingly, and you wouldn't think so from first meeting and how the other characters talk about him, but one of the most important characters making this work and having this role, and not as bad as you think, is Sal, the guy that's like used to date the girl, but he's like, you know, the tough guy, okay, ends up being like not a bad person.
Yeah, he's got good intentions.
And the way he is the first person to kind of run into the demon stuff, so you get kind of his reaction and like, what the I'm out of here, whatever, quit acting so stupid, you know. So it kind of slows it into things, but he ends up being a good lookout, protector, and everything else when we're built up for him to be this like guy who couldn't get over one date, stalker, maybe he was talking about her behind her back, all this stuff. And no, he's just kind of rough. And he even admits like, I come from privilege. Like he even has that moment where he's like, I am more like, you know, it's like they really like put your own stereotypes on the guy and then throw it back in your face, which I kind of like about that.
Yeah,
character. And the good preppy guy ends up being a total jerk. Like, well, if you're not gonna blow me, I'm gonna go do the next girl. And,
right.
Suzanne was already possessed, and she was, you know, open to that. So
yeah,
he didn't even question it. He's like, all right, let's go.
Well, we'll see. Because she wants boys.
I forgot one of my favorite lines. Yeah. I think it's when they're dancing. And like someone turns on the strobe light. She's like, far fucking out. I love that so much.
I love the addiction to the fireplace too that her and Angela have. Like they're always like, she's waving her ass to the fireplace and Angela's dancing in front of the fireplace.
They're feeling it.
I mean, it's a good lighting too. I mean, it just visually looks good. They knew their angles. But and they also at one point do say, hey, how about an orgy? And then I wrote down, I'm sure if we work hard enough we can get J hard again.
Yeah.
I just started writing down random lines from this movie, and I mean,
it's it's a super quotable movie too. Yeah,
it really is. Like, the other one's not as much, but that's why I was like, and I have the least notes on this one because I was actually like fully like immersed into the world, watching it happen. And then I totally had forgotten about lipstick boob until rewatching it, and then I was like, oh yeah. And then I'm like, lipstick boob, and I'm like, how did they do that? And it was very fascinating, the whole like, oh, that was the thing though, his reaction to that that I did struggle with. There was no reaction to that. He just
No.
kind of wandered into the other room and is like, you guys, I would run into the other room and make like, holy crap, she just shoved lipstick in her nipple. It's just inside. Like I would, and he was just like, hey guys, you might want to stop. Like I don't know what their reactions. Nothing really aligned in this movie in terms of what was really happening and the reactions, which was kind of enjoyable.
I will jump forward to the remake a bit, but I did like, is she into like magic or anything? Like sleight of hand? I was like, okay.
That was funny.
That was funny. But we should hold our compliments for the remake, I guess, for the few that there might be. But
the one, you already picked the one. No, but that's the thing is like, and again, I appreciated this one and I guess fine, we'll lump that with the remake, but then it started with this one. Their reactions to it weren't immediately. I would have gone more like excitable, like that shit just happened, whoa, and his was more deadpan, but it wouldn't be as like, I would be going, is that a magic trick? I wouldn't immediately be like demons, which I like in this one, that they weren't like demons until clearly the Buffy Summers vampire type faces went on, because I feel like some of those monsters had that style that like Buffy ended up doing with some of the vampires later on.
It's kind of it's a mix between that and Fright Night a bit with what they're doing.
Fright Night too. Well, I guess Buffy would have gotten it from all those because Buffy's 9 anyways. But still, like that style of demon face kind of had what like vampires were also like in some movies with the practical faces and mask things that they use. So I don't know, but I liked that their immediate reaction wasn't like demons, but more of a what's going on? Is this some elaborate prank or whatever it is, even though they didn't say that. And their horniness kind of left them blind to the reality of what really was happening. And I think that I like that analogy to how teenagers really are. Like teenagers do stupid shit. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I went to haunted houses. I mean, I didn't do anything that inappropriate in haunted houses, but I definitely went to abandoned houses as a teenager as much as I could. If there was one, I was like, I'm there. So I get what these teens were doing in this movie, and I would have been one of them. Like you said, you wanted to go party with them, absolutely right there. Sign me up. I'm going to Angela's party. If they pulled out a Ouija board or something, I would be like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like it's that guy.
More party, more demons, more party. Yeah, let's do this.
Yep. I was absolutely that guy, but I also was that guy to be like, shit's getting weird. Boom, out the door. Like I'm not the one to like hang around and go, what's going on? I would just be out the door. So I might survive, I might not. It depends.
Who do you think the smartest character was in the entire movie?
Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was kind of forgotten about a lot too. So
he's trying to hide in the car.
Yeah.
And then him and Helen are looking for the gate and it just disappears. And then Helen just disappears. Like she had no role in the movie at all, except for she's the one that gets to look in the mirror and sees her future death. And then crazy demon horsehead. I hate it. But then she just like disappears. She didn't get to have any sexy time. She didn't really get much screen time, really. It was just like, oh no, the mirror broke. I'm so scared. And then she disappears.
Yeah. Yeah. Her crime was not being blonde and being too scared.
And she had a ride in the car with Stooge.
Yeah. Oh, that was her. Yep. That was her. Yep. She went to the party with Stooge. Therefore, that's what it is. That's what it was. But yeah, no, I think this movie has a great intro, great, way to get getting everybody the party. Like, heck, this could double as a teen movie too, if you wanted to really go for it. I think it's
an accurate teen movie because, like I said, like they're just hormonal teens and hormones turn them into demons. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah,
it's fun. I enjoyed it. But Night of the Demons 2, I have a lot more thoughts on.
But yeah, Night of the Demons 1, I first picked it up just because that VHS cover. I'm like, the fuck is this movie? I see this creepy thing on the front. It says you're invited to a party. It's like, all right. And I rented it and I was like, holy crap, this was amazing. Nice surprise. Because this back, the covers of these for videos back in the video store days were just iconic. So
Yeah.
the cover for the second one's very similar. Any more thoughts on the first one? Time to jump to 1994 for Night of the Demons 2.
For too long, your nights have been empty. You've waited alone in the dark for the very last time. Angela is inviting you back to Hull House.
Oh, Angela, your party guests are here.
To celebrate her homecoming party. And raise a little hell. Night of the Demons 2.
Directed by Brian Trenchard-Smith, written by Joe Augustin with James Penzie, starring Amelia Kincaid, Merle Kennedy, Christy Harris, Darren Heems, Christine Taylor, Rick Peters, Johnny Moran, Jennifer Rhodes, Rod McCary, Zoe Trilling, Lad York, Mark Neely. High school students, which include Angela's sister, throw a Halloween party in a mansion haunted by a young demon. Notes here, Johnson, as I mentioned, is back, and he tries to outdo his boob gag once again. And so Christine Taylor, during this movie, auditioned and got cast as Marsha Brady during it. But they had actually shot the reference thing before any of that.
Oh, really? I wondered that.
Because people kept saying she looked like Maureen McCormick on the set of the movie, and a guy improv that line in the car. So I thought it was funny. And this movie, directed by Brian Trenchard-Smith, who goes on to do Leprechaun 3, the best one, and Leprechaun 4 in Space. He does a movie. He's done cult classics like Stunt Rock and BMX Bandits because he's Australian, so he came from there. But if there's anybody, if Kevin Tenney isn't doing this movie, if there's someone who kind of could get the campy horror tone, it's Brian Trenchard-Smith, who probably will lean more in comedy when he does things, but he's got it. And Kevin Tenney is a big fan of this sequel, even though he wasn't brought back because he was working on Witchboard 2. And there's a weird thing with these movies where you cannot have the writer and director be from the United States. One of them has to be Canadian. It's like a Canadian film thing at the time. So since the writer was from the United States, the director had to be, I don't know. They were trying to just describe it on these commentaries and these Blu-rays. But because I've watched multiple cuts of these for this, I watched, there's an international cut of the first one, the theatrical cut. This one had a work print and the regular cut. But yeah, so sequel many, many years later. Jessica, did you go on to the sequel when you were younger?
I did.
Yes.
In fact, surprisingly, I have not seen the sequel in, forever. And there was stuff that was happening. I just started quoting it with it. And I was like, I can't believe I remember this. And then the certain gags that would happen. Again, still lots of, sex and whatnot and boobs. And again, hey, girls, come over. Let's see what women look like with their boobs, because we didn't know our mom's boobs didn't look like that. So watching these movies were very educational, these B movies. But I knew, I'm trying to think, Christine Taylor, was she like in Hey Dude or something?
Yep.
It was like around the same time. Yeah.
That was kind of like, oh, okay. And then my absolute favorite. First off, I love Angela. I absolutely love Angela. She is like my favorite evil demon, whatever. Because when she's around, it's fun. I hated the sister, but then you end up loving the sister because she's a badass.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite gag. Okay, so here it is.
Okay.
Is when they're like totally making out in the car, Christine Taylor and the guy, and all of a sudden he feels someone grabbing at his crotch, and then you look down, it's Angela's hand, and she's getting in there. And when he looks, gives the finger, and then waves at him, and then takes off. I lost my mind. That was one of my favorite things as a kid from that movie. It's just so fun. The movie is just fun. And it's so silly sometimes that it's more comedy than horror, probably.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And the part where I think it's Shirley who kind of becomes the new Suzanne for this movie,
Mhm.
which I thought she was like very attractive. I loved her hair. And then, she has a snake crawl up her vagina and or like whatever that is, that demon snake from the lipstick.
Mhm.
Oh,
I think it's from
Yeah.
the lipstick, right?
lipstick.
Oh,
Yeah.
ugh. I was like, dear God.
I loved it. Loved that part.
But I
Um,
love that movie. I just loved it. I thought it was really fun. And watching it, more recent, it's kind of like I almost like it more than the first one, but I
Okay.
don't, because the first one sets it up.
Gotcha.
You've
Yeah.
got to have the OG story. Otherwise, this doesn't even exist. This doesn't matter.
Second one is very, very popular too. So
I mean, Kurt losing his head,
yes.
and then he's literally playing basketball with his own head.
yes.
Is the greatest thing ever. You referenced Larry Bird, and then someone comes along and then punts his head. Well, first off, someone does a roundhouse kick to knock his head off, and then
Mhm.
someone punts it like it's football. It's just like, no big deal.
This is a decapitation fest too. There's a lot of beheadings in this movie.
Um,
Ah,
this movie I think has, I wrote down a ton of quotes from this movie as well. Like from the first one, I think I wrote down more, but the minute I was like, there's nuns, I'm in. Like, I was like, okay, this is my favorite thing that I've seen. And then, so I didn't like it more than the first, because the first had more of a fluidity and a flow that I appreciated more. This kind of just seemed like it had like great moment, and then it kind of muddled around, and then like great moment, and then muddled around. It didn't have that like fluidity and organic nature that the first one kind of had. Which I like noticed, and just the nudity in this one wasn't as organic in the first one. Like, I don't know how these, and it's very odd, like when they were building these like dormitories or whatever they were, that they would conveniently put like the boys one directly like on the second floor above, so they had the perfect view of the woman's like window, and these girls being on the first floor seems very odd, because I know universities tend to like women on like higher floors so they don't get the passerbys. At least that's what like I had talked to universities about back in the day. So just watching those women so casually like undressing in front of a window was interesting to me, and just how they were so, I know enough women who like do change like that casually with that, but they're not as like, they're more aware of windows, and their lack of awareness of windows in this movie was a little peculiar to me. I don't know, Jessica, is that something you think that like women pay attention to or not? Like, I just feel like,
bro, no. Even when I'm watching this, I'm like, not once did my friend and I, like, we would probably take off our shirt if we had a bra on and like quick change. But if a window was open, we'd still probably just shut it out of like someone like looking in, because that's kind of sketch. Like, I don't care if it's some cute boys next door or your freaking your grandpa's rolling up the driveway, and it's like, I don't want anyone seeing me, right?
Right.
And we never walked around, even in the locker room, because I played sports forever, like through college. No one was just walking around naked. And then, not that that matters, because like in theater it was a little bit different, because you had to take off real quick. You don't have much time. But like, we weren't just like standing around naked, like, hey girl, what's up?
You're on the party tonight?
And then it's like, oh, this this window's open too. Will you help me undo my sports bra? Like, it's just not how it
that's where it
works.
got confusing, because I know that like, I know, again, I have like a theater background, so I'm used to just getting naked in front of people and all that. And like, I know women from like gym stuff and other things. And like, women are comfortable getting naked because it's me, and I don't care about their nudity. So I'm used to like that, like casual thing, but not when there's like windows open. Like, I feel like that's where it is. It's like the walking around the room, but like like, it's just so convenient that they all got naked in front of that window, and the guys were conveniently enough on the second floor to have the perfect viewing range. I mean, it works for the movie, but like, I thought it was funny, and it was shot really well, but it was just kind of like, it takes you out of it when there's that lack of awareness to all of the nudity. Like, there's always, I feel like in some groups, that one person who's like so free spirited and taking off her top, but then like everybody in this movie was like comfortable with it, even if they were kind of prude, except for Mouse, who was like the actual prude one. So, but she had reason to. So I just thought that was just an interesting introduction. Like they went from the first movie where it was just the one girl changing, and then the movie kind of gets going. And this one, they're like, everybody gets naked. Like,
Well,
here we go.
So I did note that this movie does up the horniness from the first one, but so you guys talking about the same scene. So here's something that I know that I am informed, like film education, film language. That here's what, when you're talking about the window scene that affected me, was in the window. Like, so I watch this scene. There's all these women just changing clothes, whatever, and I'm just like, okay, well, it's locker room stuff with them, whatever. This happens in movies, and then it cuts over to two guys in a room in tidy whities watching them, and my mind immediately switches to, what's up with these two? Are they together? Like, they kind of together? Like, what?
Really?
That's what I was thinking when I was like, I was like, are these? But I didn't think a thing with the women changing together. But these two just hanging out in tidy whities in a bed, because there was no sense of, oh, these guys are changing to get somewhere. They're just in a room together in their underwear. One's binoculars looking at women, but then the guy approaches him. He comes up. He's like, hey. Well, I was like, those guys, no.
They probably didn't have central air.
Maybe
the girls were running around like that too because of it.
I'm just saying the difference in like film language of what I'm used to is like, I feel like they were trying to inform me something about these two guys, whereas I'm watching these women and I'm just like, whatever, women, you all go change. But guys is like, oh, and they were alone in this room. Like it wasn't like a room full of guys. It was just two of them. It's like, you guys just get done doing something. Like what's up here?
I
but the way that
it.
Yeah, the way the film was telling me, like from seeing other movies, like I feel like I walked in on something with them, with the girls, was like, oh, girls be changing, like the way the way the visuals shot it, that's what I saw. And I was just like, oh, it was just a harsh turn of like, oh, it's people be naked to, it's an intimate moment now between these two guys. Like that's what I felt when I watched it.
I liked it. I appreciated there was some balance. But also from my days in college, I had my own room, but I lived in like a suite. So we had like a communal area and then like my room, and like there was like two singles and a double across there. The guys walked around in their underwear, and they were very straight, and they would just kind of either take a shower or they just have their underwear on and like kind of walk around or chat with each other. So it wasn't that, like, I don't know, I'm used to guys being in their underwear, not just in a sexual way, I guess, which I am, but then gay men in a group tend to always want to be in their underwear. But like straight men also, at least in college, wanted to be in underwear, or like they didn't think about putting on their clothes right away. So I don't know. I don't know. Men just like to be, I don't know. Men like to be naked sometimes, I feel like.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But the fact that there were nuns, I was really excited, and all I want in the world now, though, is while watching this was I just want a Night of the Demons and a Sister Act fusion, because I was just waiting for like Sister Mary Clarence to come out and like kick some ass, and I wanted this to be like St. Francis Academy High School, and like, I was just waiting for them to like sing a song for these demons. Like this is the crossover that I need and want now. After seeing Night of the Demons 2, I want the Sister Act crossover. I want all of that. So,
seconded. Sister Gloria.
Yeah.
Because the nun that they had in this one, and what's her name? It starts with a C. Her character,
Sister Gloria.
Gloria.
Yeah.
Gloria. Yeah, they called her that. I was on the fence about her. I feel like I liked her in the classroom scene. I thought was brilliant. I loved Shirley in that movie, pushing the buttons of the teacher. Loved everything about that. Shirley asking about fellatio, and then the nun being like, I don't think I'm familiar with that term. And just her face, like Shirley's face getting uncomfortable. And one of the best lines of the movie, and I don't know if this was written for the movie or if this is a saying that's existed in like Catholic schools or wherever, but a kiss is a sin when it is an upper persuasion for a lower invasion.
Oh,
I never
That
heard
line-
that before until the movie.
That line, I was like, that's good. That is good.
oh yeah.
Clever wordplay.
Mhm.
It rhymes. I'm in. I love these nuns. I love everything about this. Father Edward was kind of a douche, and him saying to, or no, not Father Edward, the other guy, because Father Edward was gone, which is why
Oh,
she had
Father
to
Brown.
Yeah, Father Brown was talking about Father Edward, and he goes, Father Edward is in Somalia, sister. And it's like, and you'll be joining him if you don't. And it's like, what? Like, what? So just the way these, like, the nuns and like the priests talk to each other was hilarious to me. And just Gloria coming in and whacking the candle at the beginning when the girls were kind of talking at the beginning, and she like tells them all to go to bed. Was this a high school or a college, by the way? This was
I think it was a high school. It was like a boarding school type situation.
That's what I thought, but they're all like 30 years old looking, so I was confused. And again, the casual nature of the like underwear and the nudity was like, are they in high school or are they just a bunch of theater kids that we know about?
So Brian Trenchard-Smith, I believe, influenced, and they talked about wanting to bring some Catholic humor and jokes and stuff and flip that on. So I think part of the thing is like the stingy Catholic Church is the one that puts them all in these rooms together to strip all naked and stuff all the time together. So I think there's probably some deeper humor that they were probably looking at there, because that was one of the things they wanted to joke about with this movie was the Catholicism and Catholic
Loved
stuff. Which, yeah, Sister Gloria was awesome. She's a good element.
And then, and just the way the girls kind of like pushed back on the guys, and the guys were really attractive in this movie too. I really liked Perry at first. And I don't remember which, I think it was Shirley who said, unless you left your balls in your other Calvins. No, that was the two guys talking to each other, I think. I don't know. I thought that was funny. And when like I think Shirley said to the one guy, I hear they call you inchworm. Thought that was kind of funny.
And that came back with a bunch of other jokes too, right?
Yeah,
that was a running gag.
I will say I was really, really angry though, and this is a sign of the times, and it was like justice for women. When they're on the tennis courts and Kurt and Shirley are like starting to like mess around or everything, and Shirley's the one that gets called out and gets in trouble. I'm like,
oh yeah,
Kurt, what's the, like, it's both of them. Like, why is it Shirley's fault for being like a slut, but like not Kurt's problem? Like, give me a break. Come on. They both were like playing together, and yet like Shirley got the brunt of it and not Kurt. Like, yes, Shirley ends up proving to be more of a bitch later on, that you're kind of like, all right, whatever. But like, not knowing what happens in the future, at that very moment, I was like, justice for Shirley. I was so angry.
And
Sister's mad about fellatio, probably. She had to look it up, and well, she didn't have to look it up. I'm sure she knows.
She knew.
She knows.
But like, again, I get why, but like, no, Kurt deserved to get called out too.
Oh yeah.
But everything fell on Shirley. You're all grounded for being associated with it. It was like, no, Kurt and Shirley were both like willing participants in that playful, inappropriate public display of affection as teenagers on the tennis court, and it was somehow Shirley's problem in that moment, and it made me angry.
She wasn't saving room for the Holy Ghost, you know.
No,
and
but
it's all on her fault. It's all her fault.
Yeah, that made
Not
me
fair.
very angry.
Which Shirley wasn't she like just hooking up with that one dude just to get the ability to hook up with another dude? Like,
yes.
You're gonna tell him to come, right? He's gonna. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
But and then Shirley's the source of the boob bit gag in this one, where it like has like hands almost that reach out, and it's like a really crazy effect. I was like, whoa, shit! They like invert you. Well, you reverse it. What you did in the first one, you have the boobs come out and grab you rather than stuff disappear in the nipple. It was crazy.
If you learned anything from the Night of the Demons movies, or that women can fight you with their tits.
Yes.
So whether they are possessed or not, they can hide things. They can turn into hands. Yeah. Ugh. Well, there's. I think in the remake, there's something with the boobs too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And that is
there is.
very-
We'll
Yep.
get to that.
Yeah.
That fucking remake. I wrote down toilet demon. No other context. I think like there was she opens the toilet. There's a demon. I liked that.
Oh,
a
she
lot.
saw Kurt's head.
Oh
Yeah,
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 Before he
yeah.
got, she saw like the future of Kurt.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which
Loved
was
that.
so weird.
Well, we have, I mean, they have that sword in this, and then like Angela turns into a snake, and they like go for it big time with the effects. Like they're like, all right,
Yeah.
we'll turn her into like a monstrous snake thing, which works.
Yeah.
It's aged pretty well to me. I was like, it looked like it was probably mostly a practical effect. And I was like, okay, they're going big here. They'll do the polar opposite in the next one, but they go big here with the
I think you-
Yeah. Well, I mean,
with Angela's finale.
the lipstick that turns into like that like viney snake thing that like basically is like a sex toy. I'm like, they can market that. Like that's like a new sex toy because she was loving it like for a little while. She's like, oh. I mean, like it was very like, I mean, some people really lucked out in these movies of like how they got converted into demons, and other ones didn't. Like some got decapitated or their faces ripped off, others got like an orgasm.
Right.
So like I wish I wish you could spin a wheel like, oh no, demons, like if you really need to convert me, I'll take option 2, like give me the lipstick orgasm. Like that doesn't seem like, if I'm gonna be converted into a demon, I'll take that.
Yeah, there's cool demons, and then like I mean, when you get to the remake, there's the towards the end of the movie, there's the we ran out of money demons people. But yeah, no, it's like, oh, I'd want to be a demon like that one, because there's the cool demons that you're like, oh, I remember that one, and then like there's the I guess you got turned into a demons, you know. Like there's the one that looks like it probably, you know, for the person who was the demon, they probably had to show up and be in a chair for hours, but
yeah,
you're the cool, memorable one. I like that they give Angela a lot of chance to just be human Angela too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff between that, like people showing up at the house in the beginning, the Jehovah's Witnesses, that is that this that's this one, right? The Jehovah's Witnesses show up at the house in the beginning, and giving her Amelia Kincaid, which this woman doesn't take off. Like, I guess horror is different back then than if she was in something doing this now, she'd be skyrocketed into like everything. But she was primarily a dancer. Now she's an animal psychic.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's what
she is in the Horror Hall of Fame though.
And
she get inducted into the Horror Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
so.
Angela should be up there with Freddy and people like that. Like, I know she didn't have as many movies. The first one was considering the budget of the movie, was a humongous success. Like it did big business. Granted, it was a traveling movie, not a wide release type thing. It had to go city to city to city, but it made a lot of money. Like it didn't cost like, I think it was like $2.5 million, and it made like 3.9 in one state alone where it was first released. So it made good money. But yeah, she actually she'll dress up as Angela at conventions, so you can get your picture with her in the dress, and her and Linnea will do a duo because they both still have she has her pink outfit and she has her black gown, and they will take pictures with you.
I love that
in those outfits. I don't know if Linnea does the heart on her face, but
you already brought that up, Jessica, about the one of the best scenes with Christine Taylor and Kurt in the car and Angela's hand there. And I was very jealous of Angela in that moment. I was like, I wish that was my hand.
It's not really her hand. It was one of the
I was gonna say
people,
like Angela. Whoever the hand double is, I'm jealous of them. They gotta fondle Kurt because Kurt was cute. He was cool, but he was cute. And just like it was all. I mean, I feel like because this wasn't that like, this is 90s, but even then, like, how about a little head and they cut off his head?
Oh yeah,
like, all the sexual references, but he was killed so quickly, and that made me sad. And then Shirley converting Terry. That was that was a nice moment. I enjoyed that conversion.
There's the campfire scene where they talk about the first one, which is pretty awesome, where Christine Taylor talks about and that actually, it's funny, there's in the television cut of the third one, there's a prologue, and it's her telling the story of the first one with scenes from the first one intercut from part 2, because they probably couldn't show a lot on TV, so they had to fill the time they cut out with that. So they made a prologue out of that scene from the second one with stuff from the first one, and then like a recap before the third one for the TV version of the third one, which is interesting.
Yeah,
but that's a cool scene. We haven't talked about Mouse a lot either, and she's kind of integral, but she's kind of like, I don't know.
So the beginning when she comes out in her costume, as like that clown thing, if for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't know why I'm thinking it, but it kind of was giving like a subtle like Michael Myers like Halloween vibe of that like the boy thing, because it's the way she like stood there like innocently at the thing. And the way, okay, I did feel like I hated her at first because she was kind of like annoying, but then I was like, I know why she's like this.
Yeah.
But when Mouse made that lovely dress for
BB,
who for what? Perry,
okay.
Perry. I think it was for Perry, right? All three. It was Terry, Shirley. They all rhyme. Perry, Terry, and Shirley, or whatever. They're all like the three girls' names. They all like, yeah. And it was so sweet of her to do that. And then I think Shirley was the bitch who were like, oh yeah, like you could wear it. It's Halloween. Like just being a bitch to her. That's when I get kind of like bothered by it. I was like, don't be that mean. Like she made a pretty dress. Let her. I don't know. I don't like that kind of bullying. It just bothered me. But Mouse was that haircut really bothered me.
Perry was the dude. He was the guy.
Oh, Perry was.
Yeah, I was saying BB. That's what I was saying. Yeah, she made it for BB. Yeah, Perry was the guy that was like, "There's something going on at the house."
Oh yeah, Perry was cute. I thought Perry was really cute. Actually, he was the one that had the book stolen by Shirley.
And they're just blaming him for all the demon stuff for a while. Like they probably believed your nonsense, Perry.
Yeah, he was cute too. I like the guys in this one. Oh yeah, Z-Boy was. Oh, I didn't really like. Oh yeah, Z-Boy when he turned into a demon, he was so rapey, and not in like a fun way Angela is. Like he was like aggressively rapey. Like Angela like makes you want it, but like Z-Boy was getting a little like. Yeah, like I was like,
because in the first one, like Stooge, she like seduces him genuinely. She can't get Sal, but she gets Stooge. And in this one, she continues that. And she's an opportunist with everybody. Like, that's where she goes with things. But yeah, BB is essentially our final girl.
Yeah.
And she goes through she is not, I don't think she goes through the traditional final girl run. But I feel like Christine Taylor and the girl who plays Shirley, like, they're all more interesting than her, but she's our final girl, and she has a sex scene. She's shitty.
You talking about nasty stuff in a house. They just walk into this abandoned house that apparently is so like bad you shouldn't, like, they don't have anything blocking it. People are allowed to just drive up to this stupid house. They walk right in and they leave this giant bed with silk black sheets that are fitted still, and the pillowcases are nice, and they're doing it on there. And it's like, are you kidding me? There's no dust mites. I would be having an asthma attack. And who would just be laying on that bed that's supposedly abandoned? It would have been like looted, right? Someone would have came in and taken all of this stuff. So it blows my mind that someone had the time to spray paint in there, and then maybe they were taken by Angela. But like all that furniture still, that's crazy. No. Too dirty, too dusty.
Well, Angela probably like because she was at the house, like maybe she just kept it tidy in her time.
I wondered that in the third movie. I was like, did she remodel? But
I did wonder that in the third movie. But I love that the nun eventually got there. I like that when Gloria showed up, Gloria had some fun moments, and then like the head fake out. That was wild. Like what? Rewound that like 4 times. Wait, what did I miss? How did that happen?
I was like, did they use some spell and resurrect her, or she didn't?
Yes.
Nope.
She's a turtle nun. Just boop.
Yeah, it was wild. I was like, all right, Gloria, you've got this. Now just like break out into like, I will follow him. Like I wanted Sister Act. Like I needed Sister Act to just come in.
They give her the strapping up for action like moments where she's like, she's been waiting for this. And there's the priest that's like, oh, well, I don't think so. No, everybody. Oh, I'm dead too.
I didn't like it. The way he died though, I paused it on his face because his eyes are like rolled back and he's just like against the wall, but his face that they left him dead in was quite amazing.
Oh, and then have we talked about Rick at all? The red hat guy? The guy with the red hat backwards?
No.
Rick, who like Shirley talks that she tries to hook up with that guy to get another guy to go, and then they go to pick up.
The guy that drives the
car.
car.
Rick.
Rick comes in and it's just like, wait, that's not the guy I think she wanted to come, but who's this fucking dude? And he's like, jailbait. What's going on? It's like, oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't as interesting as Z-Boy because it was Z-Boy and Rick as the pair. And Z-Boy was grosser and creepier. Wait, who was it? I made a note on when Angela kisses Z-Boy, the reaction to that. I don't know what the reaction was, but I was like, strong choice. So
weird noises like woo, 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 or something really strange.
Yeah, it was I was strong choice. I was like, all right, you kept that in the movie. I'm in. Spare the rod and spoil the child. The nun says that after when Z-Boy becomes rapey as a demon, and love that for her, and she like whips him, and then she says, spare the rod and spoil the child. The head fake happens. Your faith can't even move a mouse. I bet they thought they were so clever for that line. And I bet they were like building up this whole time. They were like, yes, guys, we did it. It's paying off. Her name Mouse. We got it. That was good. The other thing that's fascinating to me, and I don't know, I know you have to suspend your like belief here and everything, but when they switch places, the nun and Mouse switch places in this grand gesture of a moment, and the nun has this plan. I appreciate that they can do that quickly, but like all of their clothes got transported as well, like on them. But not only that, the holy water squirt gun was still with the nun. So like she transported and switched places. And I guess the demon's magical powers can transport a water gun with holy water in it too. I would think that like, if you're going to teleport, I don't know how teleportation works because it doesn't, but if you would think like accessories wouldn't teleport with you, but it did. Like, how could a demon teleport a nun or like switch the places between like two sacrifices and not recognize through their powers that one of them's carrying a holy water squirt gun? It just seems like the demon was a little absent-minded there. Like you would think they would have like strip searched them before they like switched them or like sensed it in the power. I just thought that was interesting that the squirt gun managed to stay underneath her nun uniform. There's a word for that. It's not called a nun uniform. I know the headpiece is a habit.
Oh.
No, that's the top part, but I like the gown, but it's not called a gown either, I don't think. Either way, the nun uniform. You would think that the squirt gun wouldn't have transported as well, but I'm glad it did because it worked.
It is called a habit.
The whole outfit is a habit, or just the headpiece?
It's a habit.
The whole thing is the habit.
It's a 3-piece thing. Yeah. A habit.
Oh, I didn't know that the whole thing was a habit. I thought the headpiece, because that's why I love Sister Act 2, where it's back in the habit. I'm like, so clever.
The habit also often consists of a tunic covered by a scapular and cowl with a hood.
Okay. I thought it was just the hood cowl thing. I didn't realize it was the whole like dressing gown as well.
So many listeners just now went Sister Act 2 back in the habit.
I got that all
You're
the time,
welcome.
but again, I thought that was so clever. When Sister Act, I love Sister Act 2 so much, and there's a third one apparently happening.
Excellent.
Which one has Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Second
the second one.
That's the best one. Okay. Anyway.
That's why I need it to be Sister Act 2 and Night of the Demons crossover universe, because that's the one where they're at the high school in Sister Act 2.
Gotcha,
They do. That's Lauryn Hill and Jennifer Love Hewitt,
right.
and that movie is so good. The teacher says, "Take off your robes." Anyway, Angela becoming and then it was giving some From Dusk Till Dawn vibes, which came out before From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Because the end, From Dusk Till Dawn is one of my favorite movies.
It's an awesome movie.
I love that movie. I love that I'm not going to give spoilers to that one in this, because if you haven't seen it, watch it. But I will say when they just the way they deal with light here and that at the end of this movie, it's kind of reminiscent to the playfulness of From Dusk Till Dawn at the Titty Twisters. And who kicked the window conveniently enough and had the strength to break it at the end? Was that who made the light beam come from the window? He kicked it, and that first kick was kind of pathetic, and it was really funny, and I just laughed a lot. Yeah, I don't remember which character did that, but I enjoyed that they broke that wood beam from the window and it created a cross. I like that.
Yeah.
So this movie was fun. It just I think the pacing is the only thing that I struggled with a little bit, but I think overall it had a lot of more memorable moments than the first one. But the first one is just a solid movie as from start to finish. This just had more fun moments because I think it said we're just gonna go bigger and more absurd.
Yeah, I think they're both very good. You can't go wrong. So you're excited. You're like, oh my gosh, these Night of the Demons movies. And then you wait a couple years and get to 1997's Night of the Demons 3.
Welcome to Hull House.
According to the legend, it's not haunted. It's possessed. Gateway to hell.
Where this Halloween, Angela's planning one hell of a party. A night filled with tricks and deadly treats. Of the Demons 3,
which is directed by Jim Kaufman, somewhat Kevin Tenney, written by Kevin Tenney, starring Amelia Kincaid, Larry Day, Chris Holden Reed, Joel Gordon, Gregory Kalpakis, Christian Tessier, which was one of the stars of You Can't Do That on Television. If you remember that. Anybody remember that one? Where you got slimed on Nickelodeon?
Oh yeah.
Where Alanis Morissette was on that show?
Yep.
He's Olsen or whatever in this one.
Oh, he's also in Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes.
So they must have just taken those kids and moved them on up to R-rated films.
Yeah. Also, Stephanie Bauder and Patricia Rodriguez. A group of delinquents accidentally shoot a police officer to avoid arrest. They hide out in an abandoned house, unaware it is haunted. So Steve Johnson, no longer the effects guy. So
obviously,
this movie, according to Kevin Tenney, so Kevin Tenney comes back as the writer, and apparently this was the best script of all three Night of the Demons. But Kevin Tenney, so he wasn't supposed to write it, and he was apparently lived down the street from the studio and they owed him money and stuff. So he just used their copy and fax machines a lot. And he was down there and one guy was like, oh, he's like, what's the matter? He's like, trying to get a third Night of the Demons going and all the pitches suck. And he's like, well, I always had an idea. where if like, some people stumbled upon a house, like they committed a crime or something, or were hiding in there and they held Angela hostage and didn't realize she was playing them or whatever, I'd do that. Well, then they called him the next day. It's like, hey, we pitched at the studio. They loved it. They want to green light it. Will you write it? So he wrote it. He wanted to direct it, but they said that Canada thing, you can't. So they had this guy, Jim Kaufman, direct it. Well, Jim Kaufman goes out, directs this film, submits his director's cut, and the studio's like, what the fuck is this? They were mad, da-da-da. So they have Kevin Tenney come back in, watch it, try to fix it in the editing room. He goes back to reshoot it and make it what it is today. This is crazy because, like, I watched some of this footage and stuff, and, like, the opening is different. And it has Angela when the cop comes in the house. She's like in this white outfit, like with a baseball cap, and like talking to him. And like there's a scene with her in a bedroom beforehand, just hanging out and stuff. And it's like, what the fuck? And then there's also when her first few scenes in the house, she's wearing a witch's hat with her gown. And apparently the guy who directed it did not want to watch the first two movies. He didn't want to be influenced by them. And
you have to know the story.
Yeah, he's
Dear
like,
God.
He's like, you're not gonna make. Well, Kevin Tenney, he's like, you're not gonna make The Exorcist out of making Night of the Demons 3. Like, he's like, you're, like, if you want to do that, just take it all away. But he's like, you have some, you can make your own film and good, but like, you can't trash what's before you because that's why you're here. Like this. So he came in and he reshot stuff with Angela to make her proper and everything. And the scenes of her floating around the house are actually from the first movie that they show in here. And so there's a lot of crazy stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of reshoots and stuff like this.
I don't understand the Canadian rule.
I don't get this. I was trying to understand it as they were all talking about it on these.
It sounds made up.
Yeah.
It is made up. They just made it up. They go, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. But yeah, Kevin Tenney, like I listened to a commentary with him on this one. And at the end, like he was angry about this movie. And then there's a conversation he had with Brian Trenchard-Smith that was on one of these discs. Just they're trashing this movie, and then he does his commentary. He's like, you know what? I don't think it was as bad as I remembered. So
it's not bad.
Okay, so you go first, Greg. You can.
Okay. So this is weird to me because I was not. Well, I was worried about it because those opening credit graphics were terrible. So I was like, oh,
they kept reusing the same thing, like over and over.
Like a bad video game or something. Oh, like it looked bad. And I was like, oh, I can't get through this. And then it like leaned into this whole 90s like vibe. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of in. But I'm, as odd as this sounds, I felt like this is the most grounded of all of them.
Well, yeah, because he didn't realize there was humor in these things.
Yeah. So I'm not mad at it because it didn't really necessarily feel like a Night of the Demons movie because it was so grounded, but I actually liked that there were stakes in this movie. I liked that these characters kind of felt real, even though they weren't likable, impulsive teenagers rather than just horny teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
There was something more it was gratuitous, but new enough, casual, each other around. I don't remember how the nudity was done at the very beginning of this movie, but apparently
it was unrealistic. Just two girls in their bedroom, like, hey, or what are you gonna wear?
Look at your tits. Look at your tits.
Again, I was like, me and Bessie never did this. This is Donald's like, did you? I was like, no.
Well,
you wouldn't just.
That was weird to me. Oh, but I thought it was shot beautifully. So this is my issue: is the first half of the movie up until they get to the house, I thought was great. And then all of a sudden it looks like they switched cinematographers because everything like it was all the Dutch angle. Like everybody was crooked. It was driving me crazy.
Yeah. Well, I would say so. One of the things, speaking of the girls change it at the beginning, in the script it was supposed to be another like teen little brother doing things. And then Brian Trenchard-Smith was horrified when he watched the dailies because he was supposed to reshoot this, and he sees a bunch of little children come in the room, and he's like, "People are gonna think I fucking wrote for that."
Oh yeah, they came in first.
Yeah,
just 3 kids,
three
tiny,
really little
children
children
under, and she's like topless, like, "Hey, get out of here."
Yeah, he was like freaking out. He's like, "I'm gonna get blamed for that because I that wrote the script, and it was supposed to be a teenage boy, like the first one." And yeah, he was like, "Oh my God." And why would you even shoot that? Why would you what? But apparently the director wanted his kid to be in the movie, and they changed it to be that.
Well, that was, I just put a giant question mark on my thing. I was like, what's happening? But then when it gets to the van, when they're in the van, it was giving me like real world vibes, like a reality show almost. The way being filmed, and or it kind of was giving me like Hackers, like that movie, just because of the colors. It was very like reds and blues. It felt almost futuristic in its like what futuristic or like sci-fi movies were like back then, because it was red and blues and the neon, and I don't know, I liked all of that. I thought it was interesting. It kind of had a grit to it. The mirror shots to before the van, I like the mirror shots that emphasize the boobs. It was just a pretty shot. It just was out of place. It was just very pretty though. Where they had the one girl like, "I would kill to have your boobs," and then you like see like the boobs like in the one frame, but then her face in the other. It was just a nice image. Like I felt like there was thought put behind some of the camera angles in there. But then when we get to the convenience store, so now we have a convenience store again, like in the first one, but things go very differently in this convenience store than in our first one. So I appreciate that they had a convenience store in this one. It's just, I felt really bad for Reggie. Poor Reggie. I just kept writing poor Reggie the whole time. But at the same time though, I thought that was believable too. When the guy got the gun and he was just erratically like shooting and he shot the cops, I believed that character would have really done it. Nothing in this movie felt, until we get to the house, felt so far-fetched or out of place, or like, would that really happen, besides the boobs at the beginning? But like just the setting of the tone in the convenience store, I liked it. I thought it was real. Like it felt real. I felt like everybody really was in danger. Somebody stupid really would grab the gun. I liked the acting of the people when they were scared by what was going on. That worked for me. That whole convenience store scene, it worked for me. Even though it escalated very quickly, it worked for me. So, but then once they get to the house, then it kind of stopped working for me, which is the point of the movie. So I don't know what to tell you there.
Yeah. Jessica, this is, I believe you hadn't seen this one before, right?
I haven't, and I'm okay if I hadn't. I feel like I was bummed. I don't know. Maybe it's because the house didn't look like the house, and I assumed, okay,
that's Kevin
great.
Tenney's biggest problem.
I was like, they couldn't get the house, maybe, but I don't know why they painted walls white. And then like Angela's got the sweet sound system now hooked up, so she does shopping, I guess, or maybe one of the kids from a past Halloween left it. But yeah, the house got a total renovation, and then it was weird. So I guess once you die there, you're there. You get to stay a demon because a cop showed up randomly, and
as long as you're Angela,
know about Angela.
Yeah,
it's just weird. The one thing that I was excited about was when I could see Angela, and again they reused some of the old shots, the whatever cremation door. And her flying through the house, and I was like, this is probably the best part of the movie, isn't it? This is the best part, the reusable clips. But I do love Angela. I love so gross when she's like sucking on the gun to get the bullets out.
And she sucks the bullets out.
Yes.
I was like, this is the best thing, because when they brought up that line, whatever that cheesy line is, like, can you suck a golf ball through 10 feet of gun?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The first time I heard it, I was like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
And then when he says it to her and she does that, I was like, I did not see that coming. Bravo. She can do some sucking. And then she, made out with him and killed him with her tongue. It was awesome. So I was like, yes, back to the Angela deaths, please. but I hated, the guy driving. I don't know why.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I think I might have thought of him as Matthew Lillard in Hackers, and I was like, whatever.
That's the guy from You
nah.
Can't Do That on Television. The driver guy, yeah.
Or maybe not the driver. I'm sorry, the guy that shoots the cop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one of our guys that makes it almost to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just mad at him. I was probably like, why did they even kill a cop?
Well, they didn't.
They didn't.
They didn't. He had that thing. He had the vest on.
Yeah.
And they had that really funny line that I go when the one cop runs over to him and is like, "Are you okay?" I just flew through a fucking window. Of course I'm not okay. I was like, I'm like self-awareness there. But yeah, the best part of the movie was the gun blow job and the bullets and the one guy saying like, "Can you suck a golf ball through a 10-foot hose?" Like, great.
Oh, but I mean, let's not forget the best demon of the movie with Lois when she has that sock puppet on her hand, and then it turns into a snake that attacks her. But first, it teases her.
Yes.
It's like, "Am I going to go downtown? Are we going to play a little? Is this going to feel good?" It's not. "I'm going to bite you," or something, whatever. It was just like she literally was using her hand because it was possessed, obviously. I don't know. It was like, this is sad now. I'm sad.
Right. I like that this one does have another instance like the first one of the guy that makes it through the movie being someone you would not have expected early on with this cast. And he has some good shots traded at, I think, is it Lois with the blonde hair that's constantly wanting to make out with her dude and hook up. He's got some good shots he takes at her. I think you guys haven't mentioned one of my favorite aspects of this movie that isn't used enough is the detective. Because he comes in and he's pretty fun. But apparently this is the same character, not the same actor, but the same character from Witchboard 2.
Oh.
And Kevin Tenney felt like this was the end of those movies being made, like sequel, like this is gonna be the last Demons, and then I think there was a Witchboard 3 maybe that came out, but 2 was the last high profile one. So that having those two linked and making these linked in a way. But I like when he's smart. He realizes that the racist gas station attendant guy stole money out of there to try to blame it on the kids. He's like, and he gives him the pick a card, any card. It's like the Miranda rights card. He's like, you go make that appear back in the register before. He's like I like this smarts, and he doesn't show up till like the end.
Yep.
He's like gone. I did like that the cop guy at the beginning does come back like later on for a thing. That was nifty. But this one, I just these characters, and you get just that hothead guy that's just like, come on, dude, chill the fuck out. And when in things like this, I wonder, I'm always like, how did these people all get together for this? Like, I know the two girls' car breaks down, whatever. But like the rest of them that were in the van already, I'm like, what is going on here? Like, where did you guys how'd this night start out for you guys? Like, who called who? Like, what was going, like, I was like, okay, I get, what these writing conflicts, but like, do you think that guy would have let the jackass in the back come at all? The two guys that like want to like alpha each other out? I don't know.
I'm trying to think of I had written down snake arm, I approve. That's all I wrote about
that. Actually, the snake arm, the funny thing is, like, they do attempt like digital effects in this and to some really degrees, but the snake one worked somehow. That one,
I got mad that it looked like she laid down and it's like, oh, she's gonna, all the other ones, they're like maybe it's a lipstick goes in the nipple and you're all like kind of whatever, or it crawls up your coochie coochie. That's great. And you're like, oh, she's gonna get hers with the demon. Nope. She just lays down. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Let her have some fun. Instead, she's just running around with her demon hand for going on.
I love
meanwhile, the other girl turns into a kitty cat demon, and she's like super sexy now. And it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
Well, and Angela's makeup was a bit weaker in this one too.
Yeah.
It wasn't as strong.
What was I gonna? Oh, thank God. Oh, the acting wasn't very good by that point. There was one part where when the officer showed up, I just wrote down, thank God, officer is what was said. It was one of the girls. It was one of the most painful line deliveries I've ever seen in a movie. So like, what was it? There's something else I'm trying to. Oh, we haven't really talked about Reggie. And can we take a moment to go? Reggie is a strong ass man. Like, he got shot multiple times. Now he's dragged to like demon house chilling.
Yes.
Freaking douchebag is like dancing with naked chicks, and like all this stuff is going on, and Reggie is like bleeding out, and he's just like, I'm good, like he's just holding up. And like, poor Reggie. Yeah, that poor Reggie. The cop, when he got turned into a demon, was really funny. Oh my God, you ripped my uniform. This is my pistol. This is my gun. Love that line. And it was really awkward until then I realized he was a demon, because you don't know at the moment that he is a demon. Yeah. And I was like, that was funny. But the way that they got rid of Angela at the end was so weak.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
yeah,
just stabbing and abracadabra, and it just like stab. I'm like, really? Like, this bitch who turned into a fucking snake in the last movie can get stabbed in the stomach. Like, are we in Hocus Pocus? It was giving me Hocus Pocus like vibes in the cemetery at the end of it. It's like, we're waiting for first light, like cross through the thing.
That
like,
wasn't in the script either. That was added later. The whole thing that they drive through
I'm sorry,
and have to pass.
That sunlight that they showed, I was like, is that like a beach sunrise? Where did that come from?
Oh yeah,
looked totally different.
There was water.
I was like, what is going on? And then it cuts back to them. It's still like pitch black.
It was very inconsistent.
Like, we need to show the sun coming up. Use this picture. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's annoyance of the characters. The house thing, I had canon that the house is whatever Angela wants you to see. Whoever comes here, it'll look like that. Like, I feel like she has that power to make it a certain way. So if it's, doesn't look all ratty like the previous movie, well, here it is. She's been here a while now, and she can make it look as she wants, make it look more appealing to get people to stay or something like that. But it is different. But
gets taken out by a knife and then a sunrise.
Yeah.
At the beach. And then the way the sound effect used for the skull screaming right before it like or dustified itself or whatever.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, sure. Like, yeah, and just the acting at that last moment too. Like, I understand when you're acting without, like, when you're using CGI or special effects for that fence or whatever it was, but the way he was like, "Come on, Holly, pull!" Like, there is no urgency in this happening. Like, nothing is happening now. Why? And yeah, I struggled with that ending because it had promise, and then they threw it away. And
I will give it that it's like the movie Pitch Black, that if you'd have guessed from the opening group cast photo, like, or opening scenes with each, and then they finally get together, like, which two are making it out of here alive, you wouldn't pick the two that were there.
Agreed.
If you'd have gotten through Act 1 and been like, okay, who's two of these people will survive? Who will it be? Yeah,
I agree. Oh, I thought Nick was hot. I made a point of saying that too.
Which one was he?
Nick, the hot one. I don't know. He was hot. He was the brunette guy, I guess. He was the brunette one
that survived.
I don't think he survived. No, the hot ones never survived. Nick. I just made a point saying he was hot. So Nick,
Gregory Kalpakis.
Yeah. I don't know. He was attractive. Like, every movie had like one that was like one guy that was like, I like you. Yeah, he was very attractive. I'm looking at his photo again right now. Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh no, he's the guy who got out.
Oh, he is. Okay, that's what I thought he was. Yeah, he's hot. Maybe that. Well, then, duh. My notes are in chronological order, so it's at like the end. Nick is hot. So, duh.
Yeah, he's like straight to video Jason Patrick. That's what he kind of looks like.
Yeah, but I liked him. Yeah, I liked him in that. So good. I'm glad that the hot guy survived. That's all. Oh, that's my takeaway. I'm like, oh, and then the fact that one of the last lines was like, "Kiss your sweet ass goodbye." I'm like, what is happening with this writing? Like, what is going on here? But again, it started off really promising to me because it felt like a hackers, 90210, real world, like people. I'm sneezing. Sorry. Excuse me. It felt like things that I watched in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went downhill when it got into the house, because I think they were in over their heads. With just not having a budget for practical effects in the same way, and then everything just kind of fell flat by the end, and it didn't have a nun to save the day. Like it didn't really bring up anything later on. So it started off really good, and that's when I think I emailed you being like, the link I have is not really working, but I'm really into it. And then when you resent it, I was like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have seen the rest of it, because I think where it stopped working was like right when they were going into the house. And I was really liking it up until that point, until they got into the house. But that's the whole point of the movie, is the house.
Yes. Yeah. And this one at least gives us a sense that, okay, this ain't going to be the same old rodeo of kids going to the house. We got a couple that will remind you of previous movies, but this is going for a different direction.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but enough about that one, because this remake, why?
Oh, you've been waiting for this one.
Why?
I will say, the girl who played Lois, though, she was in there. She was like in a punk rock band called Joy Drop, and that was her big thing. That was like a big get, putting that in the movie. Was like her first movie. So, it's her little thing.
And her sex scene was just her standing up with
her
top on, and he's just behind her the whole time. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, face each other. Get some. Like, he's just like kissing on her neck. I'm like, have you guys been doing that for 12 minutes, 15 minutes? It's the worst. That's the longest foreplay ever. And you're just out there in this hallway. Get it on already.
Yeah.
Like,
oh no, foreplay is nice. Like
same position.
I'm glad for that.
Just...
Like, sometimes it's all about the foreplay. Let's be real. I mean, 15 minutes is never even enough, but whatever. Wait, was 3 the movie with the worms, the earthworms?
Nope, that is the Night of the Demons remake from 2009.
Oh.
You can't be dressed like a cat.
Why not?
Because I told you that I was gonna be a cat.
Enjoy the party.
Something's not right.
See those things?
Demons.
They're scared of like.
We have to get out of here now.
Stuck in a closet.
It's not a closet, it's a pantry.
Ew.
Give me blood shit, give me hell yeah, give me blood shit. Oh yeah, give me blood shit, give me hell yeah, give me blood shit.
On the side!
We're the only things standing between them and the end of the world. That's awesome.
Give me blood shit, give me hell yeah, give me blood shit. Oh yeah.
Come and get me, mother.
Give me blood shit.
Okay, so
Here
it's
we
so
go.
bad. I can't
All right.
Knock it out. It's so bad.
It's directed by the guy behind the bat is Adam Jarash, written by Jace Anderson, Adam Jarash, starring Monica Keena, Dora Baird, Shanna Elizabeth, Tatiana Kanavka, Michael Kopan. Jessica, we could have asked him about this movie at PopCon a couple months ago. We did not. Bobby Sue Luther, Edward Furlong, John F. Beach, Tiffany Shepis, and Linnea Quigley. All right. A group of kids go to a Halloween party only to have to face down a group of demons. This movie is in the big flurry of the remake of horror movies craze. And it got a theatrical release in like the Philippines, but that's it. it came like so in this year alone, 2009, would see My Bloody Valentine 3D, Friday the 13th, Sorority Row, Last House on the Left, and The Stepfather. Like it was a remake for, huh?
Last House on the Left remake was good.
It was really good. I like that one. I like My Bloody Valentine 3D. I will stand up for the Friday the 13th one. Sorority Row, not bad. Stepfather,
I liked it actually. I like
Stepfather. Oof, that's with that Prom Night. Same studio did that. They're terrible.
I liked Prom Night.
Oh, this Brittany Snow one?
Yeah, I like Brittany Snow's. I like Brittany Snow.
I like Brittany Snow. I do not like Prom Night.
I mean, I guess I like it because I feel like she can carry it enough, even though it wasn't the best movie. I like her enough to be like, I'm in enough with like. But I
mean,
love her
that has Idris Elba in it too, doesn't it? The Prom Night remake.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't he like
and it's still he's the cop. Yeah. I still okay.
Anyways, Night of the Demon. This train wreck.
Yeah. Who? Greg? Are you waiting in the wings to go on this one?
Well, I'll just say this and then I'll pass it over before I really get into it. But when they start this movie came out in 2010. There's been a lot of good movies that happened in the early 2000s by this point. And the girls are dressed up as they're like kitty cats or whatever that's happening there. Fine. Great. Then the one girl shows up, our final girl. And she shows up and they're like, ugh, what are you doing? It's a scary look. Bitch ain't wearing nothing scary. She has a couple little marks on her face and her cleavage out. She looks like Laura Croft or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know. But the point is, I was like, I'm already out. Like, give me like Lindsay Lohan and Mean Girls or like something where you have like a fucked up costume that's really wonky and then the slutty cats. Give me something. But she looked just as slutty as the other ones. So I was so angry at this movie from moment like one that I was like, I can't do it. Like they're calling her out for being like, they were literally like, ew, your costume's so gross or whatever they said. I was like, she looks like a slut with like a makeup, like a bloodline across her face. Like I don't get it.
She looks like she's in the middle of Act 2 of some like action movie. Like that's all she
There's
looks
nothing...
like. Well, and those two
sexy tomboy kind of.
Right.
And they're like, nah, we need slut. Show your ass cheeks.
It was slutty. It was like it was a different version of slutty. It was just made me angry. Like you Mean Girls existed already when this movie came out. Like show up like Lindsay Lohan. Like I wanted like anything, but she was dressed just as bad with a couple fake bloodlines on her face. And the girls were the way they reacted and thought that wasn't a costume or like slutty enough or like was too scary. I was just angry. Well, I was so angry.
When I saw a lot of the early like outfits and stuff, I'm like, was the previous experience of the costume designer like a Victoria's Secret catalog person? Like, because that's what I feel like I'm watching that in motion between like Angela and these two girls. I'm like, what is going on here? But But to
your point, Greg, I mean, they're basically ripping off of Mean Girls because one girl is like, I'm a mouse, but she's a cat. I'm a cat. It's the same thing, kind of. Then scary.
But they didn't. But they missed the big part of the joke of Mean Girls. It was Lindsay Lohan showing up actually in a costume that was kind of like wonky. This girl didn't have fake teeth or a lot of blood. She just looked like she had a scratch on her face and was still hot as fuck. Like great, but they were like, "Oh, you're so scary." That scary look wasn't scary. It was just a girl in an action movie. Like it just made me angry. Like you can tell. So I don't know. So that set the tone of why this movie really upset me a lot, and then it just went downhill. After that,
they let you know they don't know what they're doing right there.
Aww.
And the best part is I watched I did because I had to look it up. I had to look something up on this movie. There's an interview with Furlong, and he didn't even watch the original before making this movie. Like, did anybody? I don't know. But like he openly admitted to being like, I didn't watch the original. So okay, great.
Yeah, he probably was like, well, if I can go out and get toasted or watch this movie.
I mean, I like him though, but he looked haggard in this, but whatever.
Oh yeah.
I just felt bad for everybody. And like, I like Shannon Elizabeth. I do.
Yeah.
I like her in American Pie. I like her in 13 Ghosts. I like her. And what you did her dirty in this one. Like she's supposed to be Angela, but where was the fun?
Well, no, I'm watching. I was thinking like, it's on the table for Shannon Elizabeth to be a really awesome Angela. Like I think she's capable of it and just pulls it off. But I don't know if this movie. I don't know if she's missing it or the movie's just not allowing it. Because I feel like she could do it really well, and it just doesn't happen.
Nope. And it
What was
made
her
me really
biggest
sad.
kill? Like, I think was her biggest kill when she basically is like, with the other girl and they're kind of dancing in the air, and then she's making out to her into a demon, and then she basically rips her top off and then scratches her boobs off or whatever, which is like so gory. And I was like, awesome.
Oh, and the face off. Yeah, she rips
yeah,
the
the
face
face
off.
gets taken
That
off.
was the face
From
ripper
some
off.
girl who's been in 4 movies, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And it's so wild. Like, and this is especially during the time because the year after this comes the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which tries to redo moments from that film that look much shittier than the new one. And this is the same type of thing where we mentioned earlier the boobs, where it just looks like Doria Baird is just wearing this boob thing that like don't move. They're so solid. And when she puts her finger in, you can see like it doesn't work. But also the makeup in this, like it looks scarier in 88 and 94 than this. Like, even Angela, I'm like, that's the redone Angela. Like, and it's not even played by Shannon Elizabeth when she's got the demon stuff on. That's not Shannon Elizabeth. It's a stunt woman who goes on to do like Transformers movies and Avatar movies and stuff like that. But like, what? Like, I wanted to see Shannon Elizabeth in full on. And I looked when it changed. I'm like, I don't think that's Shannon Elizabeth, and it wasn't. And it's not doing the voice either. So Shannon Elizabeth never plays the demon ever.
It's just they do that weird, like awful during that like seduction scene when they're dancing lesbian moment where they do this stupid little like CGI face blur quick like flashes over her to like indicate she's gonna like she is a demon until like full demon. And this movie just made me like angry and sad because it's like you could have been good or you could have been something, but it didn't know what it wanted to be. Like the first one, it looked like everybody had fun, and this just felt tired.
No, everybody's like, fuck this party. I don't want to, like it's like, oh, and it's like a huge party when it starts.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, they're really gonna go after, like there's gonna be some bodies, and it's like, nope. And I don't even know if it's Shannon Elizabeth at the scene at the beginning when she's doing her invitation on the computer, because you never see her face.
Just like a voiceover, very well could be.
Yeah. When she was on Dancing with the Stars, right?
Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah. I think I wonder if that was around this time and she was just not available, because it's not like she was super busy. But
I made a note saying it took 40 minutes before it got interesting. So it took 40 minutes of this movie for, at least in my opinion, before something got interesting in it. And I don't know what happened at the 40-minute mark, but it took 40 minutes before I thought something happened that was interesting in it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. This movie just feels like a lot of, like, missed opportunities. It feels almost like, at times, like it's too well lit or polished a production at times for what something sloppier could have been better, if that makes sense. It's almost just like, I don't know, like there are things that I see and I feel like I should be appreciating right there, but
she was on Dancing with the Stars in 2008.
Oh, so that they'd have been shooting this in 2008, so maybe that was coinciding with it. But yeah, she should be a great Angela, and it's not there. Do you guys like Monica Keena? Do you like Monica Keena, our final girl?
Yeah.
Sure. Why? I mean, not if she believed her costume was scary too.
They're probably like, this is Angela's party. You have to be sexy.
Well, like, I feel like she got a new mouth, because I don't feel like she looked like this in Freddy versus Jason. Like, her mouth looked different to me than that. And when she was on Dawson's Creek, like, granted, she's probably doing some stuff to her face, but I'm like, your mouth looks like it got replaced. Maybe she got new veneers or something going on. But I was like, why is your mouth? It was bothering me, and I hate that that's such a superficial, stupid thing to be looking at with the movie. But I'm like, that bothered me. I've seen Freddy versus Jason a lot, and I feel like your mouth looks different in this movie than that one.
I don't know. I like her. I think she's pretty.
Mhm.
I didn't like any of the character. I didn't care. I didn't not didn't like. I just
Yeah.
didn't care about any of the characters in this movie.
No,
Like I just didn't care.
like the dudes. There's the doctor guy.
Like,
There's that guy.
Furlong's like selling drugs, and like he might
Yeah.
get killed because of I don't know what. Like they really shoved that B story in there.
Well,
That
what
didn't
is
even matter?
what is
at
Furlong
all.
doing in this movie? What was like, oh, you guys can land him, we'll fund you. Like, what was I don't get. Like, he feels so out of, like, I don't understand why he's here. Like, it makes the movie, like, if you sell this movie on like Monica Keena, Shannon Elizabeth, Dora Baird, and the guy who's on, what is it, Gilmore Girls, and he was a Power Ranger, Copan or whatever. You kind of have like, I see what you're doing with this movie, but then you throw Furlong on here and like, oh, you guys don't want theatrical release, do you? Or something like that. Like, it doesn't, nothing against the guy, but thinking about what he's doing here, like, I'm just like, what was it like? Did someone quit? And they're like, well, he's a name. I just, he feels out of place because he's much older than these people, right? Or is he about the same? Well, he was a child. He was a child star. He just is aged.
Yeah, child star.
Poorer than.
He was fine in Brain Scan,
Well,
No, I like him.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
like him.
but he didn't really care. He just kind of showed up to this, huh?
Watch the interview with him about this movie,
Oh,
please.
wow.
It's very enjoyable. It's about like a house and there's at night and there's demons in it. Like that's what I mean, it's just I don't know what I mean, even I wrote even during the lesbian dance scene or like the Angela dance lesbian moment where they're spinning, I was like, I was left wanting more. Like, at least in the other ones, I'm like, this is fun. Like, Angela's an equal opportunist. She's like kissing girls and kissing boys, and she's just having fun. And in this one, it's like she's not even like having fun like with anybody. She's just there, and like she just knows she's one. Like, Angela in this movie is like, I know I'm pretty. Like, she's like the pillow princess of the demons in this one. Like, I'm pretty, it's enough. Like, no, it's not. It's not enough. So that's my issue with it, is the character was written boring, and I feel like, I don't know, I don't blame Shannon Elizabeth for it. I think she wanted to do something maybe with it. It's just the way it all came together. I don't know if it was a budget thing. I don't know if the editors had a thing or if they were trying out a new graphics guy. I don't know.
I don't think the movie looks cheap.
Really?
I just don't think they know what to do with what they have. Like, I feel like, like that's what the makeup could do for you. Like, I don't know.
The CGI was bad.
Oh no, CGI is bad. I'm talking like practical effects and the makeup effects. I just don't think they know what they're doing. Like they have
earthworms. So
worm. Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh,
why earthworm? Like okay, when he's doing anal to the one girl.
Oh yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like things are coming out of her stomach, and then you just
and her nipples, like their worms, like are just like,
yes, that
like,
was great. That was great. But then all of a sudden, plop, just like 7 earthworms just plop on her back.
Yeah,
like you have like tentacles coming out of like vaginas and boobs and tongues, and then just bloop, earthworm.
Yeah, the worms. It's like these people aren't coming from the grave. There are like demons, like from the ether. There's no.
Do you think they just accidentally dropped him on like a back when they were filming? They're like, oh no, just leave it. We're not gonna
yeah, that's what it felt like.
All right.
They appeared in multiple scenes.
You keep hitting your hips with your keep hitting your ass with your hips, and we're gonna toss these worms on you, okay? 1.
Oh my gosh.
2,
multiple scenes.
They're a little cold.
Earthworms.
They're a little cold and dirty. We got some wipes. We got some wipe. It probably isn't even Dora Baird. They probably have a stand-in to just take the worms and go with them.
Oh man, was it 7 worms to represent like the 7 bodies in the basement? Tell me that's not what they were trying to do.
Oh, God. Yeah,
Oh.
they had those bodies in the basement. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And apparently a skeleton would disappear when it gets to possess another human.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then when Angela got bit by the skeleton and their reaction to that too. Like it's just
But
I
that's not
don't
how
know.
demons work. Oh.
Yeah, it just I don't know. But that's what I mean is like some effects were good and then other effects they like phoned in. And at that point, like you didn't need the worms. Like did nobody on set go like, I don't know if we need this, or like no, just do it anyway. Like I don't know. There's ways it could have been done, or just go to a butcher shop and just get raw meat and throw it on somebody. That would have been more effective than earthworm. Like I'm sorry, but I look at earthworms and there is nothing threatening or scary about an earthworm. Like it's ew. Like no, it's not scary. It's not interesting. It just was a weird choice and it made me sad. Just like how her scary costume wasn't a scary costume, and I will never like I will die on that
It
hill.
is scary. No, it's not. Like it looked like she got in a car wreck before she got to your apartment. That's about the severity
Yeah.
of her. Yeah.
But I loved Miss Quigley. She looked fabulous, and I don't know if she used a stunt butt or not, but I loved it.
Nope,
I
it
loved
was all her.
cameo,
Good for her.
little ballerina. That was fun.
Yeah.
I was pumped.
Well,
I
yeah,
thought,
it
I thought
starts
the
to-
movie was gonna be so great because I'm like, oh look, Easter eggs.
Yeah. It starts out with that cameo, and you're like, oh, okay. Well, no, it has the silent movie intro. They give like a way big exposition backstory to everything, and now we're in New Orleans, which I don't think it was ever said where they were at before. I think it was supposed to be some kind of like Midwestern town or something that they were going, or Northeastern, something like that, to try to relate to the rest of the United States. Now you put New Orleans, and it's like, okay.
I guess Quigley did moon a bunch of kids though, technically, so maybe that's inappropriate. Now that I think about it, they're like 10 years old. They you know what? They know she got it. They appreciate it, I'm sure.
She got it.
Oh no, this movie just I don't know. I didn't even know it existed until like y'all said there was a remake.
I didn't know, and I'm like a big
neither.
Night of the Demons fan. I didn't know this existed for like for a while. I probably saw it like 10 years ago for the first time. It had been out for a bit when I saw. I was like, I think I was at Fry's, and they had a Blu-ray for it. I'm like, oh, that's a weird cover for Night of the Edward Furlong. What the fuck? I'm like, this is this description. I'm like, they remade this? Like, how did nobody like announce they remade? And I found it somewhere because I think they sold it for like $4. Like Fry's would have stuff for like $2 or $3, and I think they sold it for like $3 there. But like, I was just like, huh, that's weird. And I watched it. I was like, oh, no wonder nobody talks about it. But I was like, Shannon Elizabeth is in this, like Edward Furlong, Monica Keena, Dora Baird, because this is Dora Baird coming off of what Texas Chainsaw the beginning.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah,
I
like
kinda like that one.
huh? You know, I think that's better than the Beale one.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
That's for another day. I guess.
I just watched a YouTuber for some reason do his list of like top 50 movies, and when he put like horror movies, and when he put Scream as 44, I was like, I already don't trust this list. But he actually had the Texas Chainsaw like remake, the Jessica Biel one, in like the top 20. And I'm like, you have Scream as 44, you have Halloween the original as 30, but somehow you put Texas Chainsaw remake in like your top 20. That was odd.
The one
anyway
that forgets what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of about. But yeah, I
don't know, but I like it actually, so I'm not even critical of it. I just wouldn't have put it above Scream or Halloween or any of the other.
No, that's or the original Texas Chainsaw or Texas Chainsaw.
I don't even know it was on the list. So
yeah,
we don't need to talk about that.
Gotcha.
But,
all right. We were spared a sequel to this movie. It was announced that they were make a Night of the Demons after party, but that was announced in 2013, and to this day has still not happened. So Shannon Elizabeth's Angela has not returned.
There's potential for it, which is sad, but it just, you would think with a remake though, it would look fresher and more expensive in some ways, and it didn't. Like the original looks more expensive and more fun and everything
so
else.
Does the second one.
Yeah, both the first and second one look like there was thought and care, and everything was thought out. And this one, let's just drop worms and hope for the best. Like,
so Jessica, how would you rate the Night of the Demons movies?
Ooh, I'll just go 1, 2, 4, 3.
Whoa!
I know. I
Wow.
can't handle. That's right.
Fight.
I almost did a 2, 1, 4, 3, but one is still my favorite because it starts it all. 3, I just don't think I could watch the third one again. I could probably watch the fourth one again and still be entertained by different.
What?
Hopefully different stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, and I just something about the third one. It just
Fair enough. So
but
Greg,
they had good sex in the third one. Not much good sex in the remake. So I will say that.
Worms. That's all I'm gonna say. Earthworms. I mean, like, did they go to the guards? Like, oh, we're out of props. Oh wait, I'll go to the garden. Like, anyway. I mean, it's hard for me to say. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 1, 3, 4. It's I mean, 1 and 2 are pretty equal for me. So, but I think 1 has to take it just because it, as an overall whole, it really is the most cohesive of all of them. So the order in which they were made is the order in which I think they are ranked.
Gotcha. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, but like, I agree with Jessica. 3 is not that easy of a watch. I watched it 2 times for this, and I was just like, it was tough.
Maybe it's just because it was slow.
There's there's a cheapness to it that makes it a little harder.
Cheaper than 4.
Let me guess, worms.
But they did make them come out of our nips too, whatever. So that was fine, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know. Some of it just so outrageous, and like the sillier things could be the kill or obnoxious it is, like in the second one. I love. So maybe because there were only a few worms, maybe now I love it because it's funny when I think of that. If I see it, I'm gonna think of you guys explaining it. And I love it. I'm like, did you see the worms? There were like 7 worms.
Like 8. I counted all the worms. All the worms are in there.
I bet there's a worm wrangler on set. He's like, dude, we only got like 20 of these. Make them last.
That one over there. Pick it up.
Okay, I give you that 3 is a harder rewatch because it isn't as campy. It's not as funny. The stakes are higher. With that being said, there are many movies that I think are great that I don't want to watch multiple times. So I don't care about rewatchability, because if you're using that logic, then my favorite Scream is 3, because that's the most rewatchable of all of them. But we all know that is not the best Scream. But for me, it's the easiest one to keep watching. So you're saying just because you think 4 is easier to rewatch that it's better than 3?
Oh my! Oh,
for what ticks my box, or whatever it is. Yes, I don't know why.
There's a limited amount of Edward Furlong films of a high profile to watch. I mean, you gotta.
Okay, I mean, at least
or maybe the people are sexier too.
There's
the
enough
girls.
3 that I like.
Dory Barrett-Shan Elizabeth looked pretty good,
but used wrong. Like they weren't even utilized right. So I'm just bitter about that. Like they're good in their other films. So why did this one fall flat? Like it just is so sad. Like you had such a campy, fun concept to remake and play with, and that's what you did with it. Like it looked like they took more notes from Night of the Demons 3 to make the remake than they did from the original.
You know what? I'll change it to 3 and 4 being tied, because Angela is in the third one. She's not in the fourth one. Like the Angela. I cannot think right. Amelia.
There. Thank you.
I have to. I didn't see.
I love it every time I see her. I love it. I was hoping she would pop in somehow, like as a cameo. Like I don't even know. Somehow work her in. Make her be a female cop. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know why she wasn't in the remake. It doesn't. I mean, her last film she ever starred in was Night of the Demons 3. Wow. Before that was Night of the Demons 2.
Wow. That's unfortunate, because she could have been big. She could have been in like The Craft. Like she could have been in all of those 90s movies.
She said she had a hard time getting cast and stuff. And part of the reason why what I told you about the third one where she was dressed differently and stuff is her agent was like, you have nothing of me to showcase your talents aside from you in this demon getup and doing weird things, these demon movies. So she had some influence on the third one set. She said she directed a lot of scenes. So she was the one who wanted the stuff looking normal so she could use it for her demo reel.
Oh.
I love that for her. Like,
yeah,
she deserves more. Again, I don't hate 3 that much because I just think they were just clunky once it got to the house. Up until the house, I thought it was pretty good, and then it got clunky. But
I'll say this: if I'm watching them and I'm going and I'm like 1, 2, and I feel like a third, I probably put and I get what I probably go for 3 because it's got the real Angela rather than the
I'd probably
remake.
fast forward to them getting to the house.
There you go. Okay.
And I know that's the whole story, and there's actually some like good stuff there. But I want Night of the Demons. I want my demon. And I want her now.
That's the other issue with the fourth one we didn't touch on. At least in the first one and even in the second one, there was like a process to become a demon.
Yeah.
This was instantaneous demon, like Kiss demon. Like there was no like.
Well, in the last 2, when the guy who's in the doctor costume and Edward Furlong turn into demons, there's like the face is like just kind of the most laziest thing I've ever seen. It's like, oh, that's it. That's what the 2 guys we wait on the whole movie to become demons look like.
He's like, hey, I'm a demon now.
They're like the same looking. Yeah.
Demon. At least the first one, it was just like everything kind of evolved and naturally grew. This was just like Pokemon, like gotta catch them all like quickly. instant demon. It just didn't. I don't know. It's sad. It's just a sad movie.
Mm-hmm.
For it to be made, and people spent a lot of money making, well, not a lot, but like money was spent on this movie, and that's sad.
Gotcha. Yeah, a couple bucks.
Like,
so
awesome.
Yeah, like if you're gonna be like a bad movie that's gonna be bad, like a Sharknado that are incredible, but like they know what they are. Like this, I don't know what this movie even knew what it was.
I don't think it knew tone. It didn't it was like it started being like funny, but it was like maybe this is just kids hanging out, and they wouldn't none of the demon stuff in the remake was funny, fun or funny. Yeah, like I guess the doggy style scene was kind of funny, but it wasn't. It was, I don't know, it wasn't working. The effects, the effects needed to work better to make it effective. The makeup was. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So I guess I will go with 3 over the remake, though.
Thank you. Welcome to my side.
I did originally, but I'm like, yeah, if I'm gonna go with something that's like demons proper, but like, yeah, it felt like they could have made a good remake out of this, and it wasn't hard.
I know.
And it wasn't hard, and they had pieces in place, like,
I feel bad. I just that I'm so like, because I'm never like negative about things, or at least on this show, like I don't openly talk about negative things about movies, and I'm like trying to think of positives, and I'm just like I can't. Like I can't think about it for this fourth one. Even the iconic lipstick boob, like
it's awful.
They took it too far, even like coming out of the vagina and the blood gushing out. I was like, did they put a hose there? It wasn't even like gross. It just stopped being believable because it's like, where did all the blood come from that instantly? Like it could have been funny because it was so much blood underneath there, but it happened really quickly. So you didn't even see like the giant splashback of blood. Like if you're going to have that much blood, then make it funny how that much blood got there, or make it really creepy. And then you just like that slow trickle of blood coming out of it, like make your choice. But instead they're like, oops, we spilled the blood. It works. Keep it. Like, I don't know. Like, I like, let's look up movies that had the same budget and like what they did with it and what this movie did with it, and I don't think the budget was well utilized. Like I don't know, I don't know, and it makes me sad because I don't want anybody involved in this movie to be like about themselves for being a part of it. But like if they had fun making it, then great, but if they didn't, then that makes me even sadder because it didn't seem like they had fun making it. So I'm sad.
There we go. All right, we'll end on that sad note, Greg.
Oh.
There we go. So, all right, it is Halloween time. Do anyone want to share what you're going as for Halloween before we sign off?
Sure.
Oh.
I
Go
am
ahead, Greg.
doing like a male, and because of male, I'm just wearing shorts instead of a skirt of Liv Tyler, aka Corey from Empire Records, her
Ooh.
poster outfit. Or well, the outfit in the movie. It's the same thing. So yeah. That is what I'm doing for Halloween this year. So I'm reviving my 90s themed adaptations, because in 2021 I did Romy from Romy and Michelle.
Oh yeah, okay.
Not the iconic poster one, but a deep cut, because that is my favorite movie. When she's in the laundromat wearing the 3 of Hearts shirt and the polka dot skirt, which I turned into shorts.
Gotcha.
Anyways,
Jessica, you dressing up?
Yeah, we have a Halloween party to go to. So convinced Donald to do Jamie Fraser, sorry, from Outlander, and I'll be Claire Fraser.
There you go.
Yeah, so he's got himself a little kilt. He's got that long curly hair right now, so I get to style it. I think that's my favorite part, is that I get to like just style his hair like Jamie's. So we'll see how it turns out. The top
Sweet.
part of my outfit doesn't really fit right now, but I'm sure I can figure some things, maybe some string, cut it up, and piece it back together, right? That's what they did back then.
That's what you do, yeah.
It'll work.
Handcrafted. Cool.
Are you dressing up?
I am. I'm going to be. I'm going to be Art the Clown from the Terrifier movies.
Oh no!
I tried to get my daughter to go as the pale girl from the second one, but she is going as Beetlejuice. That's who she wanted to be.
That's cool.
Yep. And my son is going as Ghostface. So.
nice.
Wait, which Terrifier do you like the best?
Second one.
Is that like hands down duh?
Oh gosh, that is a.
We started the first one and I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing with our lives? And we just turned it off. I couldn't even get.
Then don't even go to the second one.
Oh no! Is it even worse?
It is a. It is a masterpiece of what it is. I'm not saying that this is sitting up there.
If it's so bad, it's good. I like that though.
No,
it's actually very good.
It's actually very, very good, but
hard to watch.
If you can't sit through the first one's kills, there's no way in hell.
I think I was just getting bored.
Okay, well,
okay.
Okay, well, the first one is it's an okay movie, but the second one is elite in what it is. It swings for it is a long movie, but it is worthwhile long, and it swings for the fences. It is mean as hell. It is graphic. It is darkly comedic. Yeah,
I mean, it makes Devil's Rejects like a PG movie in comparison.
Yeah.
Oh.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
It
is.
Like we might revisit. We'll get through 1 and then we'll hit up 2.
Yeah.
Like I have not stopped thinking about that movie for a year now, because it came out like last year, and I got a screener and I was like, hey Greg, check this out. And we were both like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, it is hard to watch. I've watched it a couple of times, and there are scenes where I'm just like, I still can't even like look at the screen, because
but it's so fascinating. It is like, yeah. And I had a friend, Yancey, from people remember from Yancey's Tales from Video Store here. I swear, like it turned him religious. Because he's been so turned off by it, and he said he felt so dirty, and he sat through things that I think are worse than Terrifier 2. But that movie really turned him off, so that's even made me grow in my esteem with how awful it, like how nasty this movie is. So yeah.
Oh geez.
But it is an actual well-made movie.
Yeah.
Even though it gets very, very bizarre at the end, like but like the last half hour takes you a whole different world, but leading up to that, it is just a bloodbath of joy, if you're into that.
Yeah. So Terrifier 2. There you go.
Watching.
All right. And of course, where can people keep up with you? Greg.
You can...
Jessica. Oh, you go first. Jessica. There you go.
Sorry. You can come hang out with me on Instagram at Jessica Alsman. It's ALSMAN. Or on the Twitter X, whatever. At JN Alsman. Yeah.
Gotcha. And Greg.
At the McGoonies, mostly on Instagram, but if you just type in McGoon, you can find me anywhere. It's not that common of a name.
All right. And I'm on the X and the Insta at Brandon4KUHC, written work at whysoblue.com. Let us know if there's a horror series you would like us to go through, like we have been for Scream, Urban Legend. I know you did last summer, the Rob Zombie's Firefight trilogy, and the Night of the Demons. Let us know. Keep it. Don't make it traditional stuff. Try to make it something more unique, not too super obscure, but something unique. Let us know. Maybe we'll cover it future one of these retrospectives. But next week, I will be back on Monday with another installment of Products of the Panic with Troy Brownfield as we talk Indictment, the McMartin trial TV movie from 1995. Yeah, so that should be interesting. And until then, happy Halloween and stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.